Hey Mustangs, Miss Jones here. We're going to continue with Liberty Porter. Chapter 7. Hello, Miss Crumb, Liberty said. I have someone for you to meet, Miss Crumb said. And that's when Liberty noticed there were other people in the hallway. There was a woman with dark blonde hair, a green dress, and dark green very high heels. And standing next to her was a boy who was about Liberty's age. He was kind of short and had dark blonde hair with a lot of shiny goo on it. He was wearing a navy blue blazer with a light blue shirt and khaki pants. I wonder who this other kid could be. Liberty, I'd like to introduce you to Mrs. Piffle and her son James, Miss Crumb said. It's a pleasure to meet you, Liberty, Mrs. Piffle said. It's a pleasure to meet you, Liberty, her son James also said. Mrs. Piffle is the chief of protocol, Miss Crumb said. It means my mother plans events when presidents and heads of countries from other countries visit, James said helpfully. The word protocol means manners, Miss Crumb said. Ah, Liberty got it. James was supposed to be a good influence on her. She'd had many good influences forced on her in her life, like when her teacher moved her seat between Perfect Page and the wall so Liberty would stop talking in class, or when the teacher made Perfect Page her field trip buddy even though all the other kids got to choose their own buddies, except Max Mellon. His buddy was the teacher. Here is a welcome to the White House gift, James said, holding out a small white box. I wonder what present he got her. Thank you, Liberty said, opening it. It was a pretty pink picture frame. We thought you could put a picture of you and your parents from Inauguration Day in it, Mrs. Piffle said. I will, Liberty said. It's definitely a better present than what President Andrew Jackson once got. What was that present, Mrs. Piffle asked. A giant cheese, Liberty told him. For real. It weighed more than 1,000 pounds, and he left it sitting in the White House for front hall for 2 years, and it stunk up the White House. Mrs. Piffle and Mrs. Crumb both gasped. 2-year-old smelly cheese, James said. Did they eat it? Don't worry, Liberty told him. The cheese didn't mold or anything. A crowd of people actually came and ate it right in the White House. That made me kind of sick to my stomach, James said. Oh no, is your tummy feeling sick? Mrs. Piffle asked him. James does have a sensitive tummy. No, I just meant smelly cheese was gross, James said. I didn't mean anything about my tummy. Maybe your tummy is sick because it's been such an exciting day, his mother continued. Remember how you threw up after Cousin Adam's birthday party? Mother, that was one time, and I was 4, James groaned. And I ate 5 cupcakes. Oh, yes, and that terrible blue ice cream that stained your lips blue for days, his mother said. Maybe today is too much for you. Maybe you should go home now and take a nap. Liberty decided to help him out. Maybe James could rest a little bit in my room right here, Liberty said, and then when he feels better, he could show me around. What a nice offer, Mrs. Piffle said, and James would love to show you around. He fancies himself a bit of an expert on the downstairs. Well, that sounds perfect, Miss Crumb said. I'll be right downstairs planning the official visitor welcome visit, Mrs. Piffle said. James, here's your backpack and backup things. I know, Mother, James said. He took a green backpack from his mother as he leaned over and smoothed James's bangs down. We can welcome people to the White House, Liberty said, and make sure everyone feels welcome. Now, Liberty, Miss Crumb said, you don't need to do that. I made up a list of approved things you may do. She handed James a piece of cream-colored paper. Liberty, it was nice to meet you, Mrs. Piffle said. You too. And now I'll show James my new room, Liberty said. She grabbed his arm and dragged him inside. Whew, safe. We can hide here until they're gone, Liberty said. She held up her cell phone. I'll have Sam tell me when the coast is clear. Sam is my secret service man today. Okay, James said. May I leave my backpack here? I don't really need it. My mother makes me bring an extra change of clothes. So embarrassing. Liberty nodded and James carefully placed the backpack on her chair. But first, James said, pulling a piece of paper out of his pocket, Miss Crumb made up this schedule of what I'm supposed to show you. Oh no, we're 4 minutes late to start. I'm supposed to have told you how the White House was built already. James actually looked worried. So George Washington had the White House built, but John Adams was the first president to live here in 1800, James said. Oh, don't worry. I learned all of that when I did a report on the presidency for school, Liberty said. And the cool stuff, like how Garfield's son used to ride his bike down the grand staircase. He would ride down the stairs and then go flying through the hall. We actually aren't allowed to do that, James said. Yeah, I guess that, Liberty said, but do you know any good stories like that? How about Abraham Lincoln's ghost living here? There's not really a ghost, James said. I've read that there is, Liberty nodded. He walks around in the Lincoln bedroom. Isn't that down the hall? Yes, James said, going over and opening the door. It's right out there. But there's no such thing as ghosts. And then they heard a weird moaning noise. Aroo! It's Lincoln's ghost, James yelled. Run! No, wait, hide! No! Call the Secret Service! Oh my goodness, looks like Liberty Porter has a new friend in James. Let's see where their adventures take them. All right, Mustangs, until next time, take care.